So the first thing that I want to do is I want to start adding the color to the oranges that are in the background, and also start adding the same color to the peel of this orange. So we will be working on the drawing, constantly moving from one object to the other so that we keep it at the same stage of progress in the work, so that each object doesn't seem as if it's kind of just pasted onto the drawing, but it seems harmonious as a whole. So I'm going to take my mid-tone color and I'm going to start adding those orangier bits on the areas where I see that the shadow meets the light. Next we can go into lighter value. So as we said, it's going to become cooler as it gets towards the light. Okay, also put more here. And let's add the same colors on our peel here in the light, like so. So this basically, let's treat it as a local color of our object. Like so, and here it catches quite a lot of light, so we need to show that. Next we move through our gradation of colors and we're going to go into warmer red oranges. And I'm applying gently our warmer orange onto the areas which will have shadow. Also, we need to remember that there's going to be reflected light on our spheres towards the bottom, so I'm going to add this color also at the bottom, and then we will deal with the reflex of light. Okay, so here we have the shadows, so I'm adding this color everywhere that we have the shadows. And now we're moving into our red brick color, basically. And I'm going to start applying this darker value where we have that shadow, core shadow forming. Also here. And now we can start blending the colors. I'm going to clean my hands so that I don't drag dark color into my lights. And I will start blending the colors very gently, rubbing the colors into the paper. And creating that round sphere of our mandarins. So I constantly have a napkin here so that I can wipe excess pastel off and I don't drag the dark color, for example, into the light. The same thing here. So you can see already the volume created just by the first application of pastel. If I have reached, if my colors have gone into the paper, I can always clean it up with a kneaded eraser. It's always a good idea to keep your work clean. So let's add also some blending here. Also on this area here. Okay, so our first layer is all done. Now we can start adding the second layer. So I'm adding the same yellow again. And I will add this red-orange where my shadow is. And also add this mid-tone value here. Again, doing the same thing here, adding the red-orange. And that mid-tone value, just to marry the two better. And I'm adding it also here. And this also allows us to create that texture of the skin of our mandarin. Also here. Okay. Now, if this is too blurry, so here I have a bit of pastel going out, I'm constantly cleaning it up. What we can do now is we can start adding those highlights with our lemon yellow. I'm going to clean this pastel, it's a bit dirty. Just so that we can see already our darks and lights, how they look together. So here it's quite good. Okay, also here we will add this highlight here in the back. Like so. Okay. Next, we can work on the inner bit of our mandarin. So I'm going to use this mid-tone value that we used in our mandarin. So always using the same pastels, not going and fishing for a new color. And I'm going to add this color everywhere where I see that shadow forming. So this is why we do our first drawing, to remember like kind of a map of where these segments will be located. But now that we cover it with a pastel, we lose it. But as we have already drawn it out, we have in our mind the map of how they actually are located. So it's always a good idea to draw it out before you actually apply color. And now we can blend this in. Like so. Here there's a shadow from the peel as well. Okay. And we can also add a bit of this color. When you pick it up with the finger, you can also add it a bit onto the segments here. So you can kind of paint with your fingers. Okay. Now I'm going to add a bit of this red-orange in places. So here there's quite a prominent shadow. And just to take away a bit this brightness, I'm going to add this greenish umber color that we have, just to take away the brightness from the shadow areas, like so. So we can add this color also in the shadow areas in our oranges, just to bring in a bit of that calmer color. And this color is also going to serve us as a color that we see in our reflected light here. Now I'm going to go into my yellower color and start adding those lights. And this yellow, I'm going to mix it in together with our lemon color. So So I'm adding the lights here that divide our segments. And I'm going to mix the two so that we have a lighter color, so no need to look for another pastel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blend this. So you can already see how these segments kind of come forward. Okay, next I'm going to take this reddish color. I'm going to add that shadow inside. Also here, I'm darkening the shadows. And also here we will see that darkness contrasting with the light. And again, I'm going to my umber color and I'm dialing it down so it doesn't look so bright. So it kind of tones it down a bit. Here you see that there's just a bit more darkness happening. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this yellow color here where I see the shadow on the peel and tone it down with this greenish umber. And we can start blending it in as well. And I see that it's some places translucent and we can see the color of the peel showing through. Like so. And then in the light, it's going to have this lemony color to it. Like so. And here we will take it into shadow because it folds away from light. Okay. So now what we can do is we can start creating those lines on each segment. And I'm going to use this bright yellow to add the texture here in the light. So if you notice, they're not straight lines. They move in this random pattern over our segment, like so. And here it goes into the shadow, so here it becomes darker. And now we will tone it down with our umber. So here. We're adding the same lemon yellow. And here very gently I'm going to add a bit of detail to these segments. So where we see the shadow, I'm going to tone it down with this umber color that we are using everywhere else as well. Like so. Also here it comes into the shadow. So and over here. So we're kind of passing over those lines that we created. In the shadow, it's going to have a darker color. It's not going to be as bright, lemony yellow. Okay. Going to add just a bit of more brightness into this area which is turned towards us. Okay. Next, I will go back into my red orange and I will start adding those details to the peel that is kind of turned away from the light. So here we have also some of this peel showing through, and I'm gonna tone it down with this umber so that it looks as if it's in the shadow. Okay, and here we can see that edge that is quite bright, that catches a highlight of that peel. And on the back here we see the edge with this red orange, the edge of this peel. And I'm going to just slightly blend it in very gently. And here it's already going to be lighter as we're moving closer to the light. And here at the bottom it gets darker because it's in the shadow. So I'm not creating a sharp line. I'm adding it in these broken movements so that we show that the peel is not even. And here we can add the umber color if the line became too thick. And here I see that there's just a bit more light on this peel over here where it manages to catch a bit of light, and I'm going to add this lemon yellow over here. And also there's a part where we see it catches the light where it folds, like so. I'm actually going to take this even darker color to create this edge of the peel. And gently just tap it to take away this contrast. If it's too dark or too bright, you can always go to these umber colors. And here, to intensify that feeling of transparency, I'm going to add this yellow just to show that here the light manages to shine through the peel. Like so. Okay, now we need to add the shadows.